Ooh, ooh, ooh. The Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a beloved community we choose to be, where art, life, and spirituality connects you and me. Science of mind and spirit, the foundation we teach and live. Love, joy, and belonging are the gifts we have to give. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one life, one mind, one infinite, eternal, self-existent. 'Cause we pause, embodying all that we are. We shine like a glorious star. Our consciousness, our being, open at the bottom, open at the top. We're not simply one with God, but we are it itself. It will never stop. SIA, our spiritual center, family and home. It's where we come to practice and remember there is only one. Spirituality, it's our way of life. We value laughter, truth, and justice. We express artistry as our living practice. So come and join us at SIA. Know you found a community that will love you every day.
Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message. Namaste and greetings, and welcome to March 4th. June 7th? No, wait. What is it? January 11th. Are you ready? Today we are continuing our discussion about ancestral wisdom and new thought. And today it is circulation and flow. So this week we are going to explore the law of circulation and the ever-givingness of the divine and our acceptance or receptivity of all that is being offered and all that is being given by this infinite and absolute presence and power called by many names. Now, this exploration is inspired by both the indigenous wisdom of our indigenous siblings, as well as what Dr. Holmes wrote in chapter 3. If you want to go read chapter 3 of the Science of Mind textbook. But for the moment, let us begin with a question. How might your life change if you gave and received as freely as a wild strawberry grows? What if you gave and received as freely as fill in the blank? Dr. Holmes reminds us that when we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. Now, this implies that many of us do not trust the universe. So what does it mean to trust the universe? In order to be happy, prosperous, and well. And how does one learn to trust the universe in order to be happy, prosperous, and well? So what was that question that we asked regarding the wild strawberries and how they grow? How would your life be different if you were as open and as receptive as the free-flowing growing of? Now, wild strawberry, you may ask, well, wait. How is it open? Well, the wild strawberry is connected to the stem, which is connected to the roots, and it receives nutrients through the roots, and it receives sunlight. So photosynthesis. So it is completely open and receptive. And it gives freely. It doesn't withhold flavor. It doesn't withhold or restrict color. It doesn't say, you know what? Today's Monday. I don't feel like growing. Damn it. Today, you know what? Matter of fact, today I'm going to be a grape. Because I know these people don't like grapes. Like, it doesn't withhold. It simply expresses itself fully. As does many things in nature. Snow, sunflowers, the sun. All of these things are ways that the universe simply gives. Doesn't withhold. And we can find many more examples of this. These were just a few of ways that nature, there is only one life, and that life is God. the ways that nature expresses infinite abundance without restriction? Do we trust that process as it applies to our own lives? It is only as we allow the divine current to flow through us and as us and on and outward that we really express life. The law of giving and receiving is definite. And Dr. Holmes says in the book, The Art of Life, the art of, in case you want to, come on, get the light. There you go. On page 71, asking and receiving are merely two ends of one law. When you ask for something, that is, when you affirm the presence of your desire, for this is the most effective method of asking, you should believe that this desire is already an accomplished fact. In other words, you should already believe the amen, and so it is manifesting right now. To what degree are we allowing this divine current to flow through us and as us? Are we open to all that it is? If I were to ask you, how many laughs would it take for you to run out of laughs? Like, how much laughter do we have in a lifetime? Well, what about tears? Tears of sadness, tears of grief, tears of joy. At what point do the tear ducts say, boop, you have hit your limit? In order for there to be more tears, please go to our website. You can feel free to use a credit card to pay or mail a check, and we will send you more tears for the following year. How long, if you were to simply write a letter, write a book, write a poem, at what point does writing stop? You've written enough words. There are no more words to be written. There are no more songs to be written. There are no more poems to be written. There are no more, you've run out of words. At what point does a conversation that we're talking and we're talking and we're talking, then all of a sudden the conversation bill collectors show up and say, no more conversations. You've maxed out the year. At what point does your imagination, at what point do ideas, okay, whoa. So if we can understand that we have an infinite amount of each of these, infinite amount of each of them, then we would recognize that there technically is no such thing as writer's block or artist block or whatever that is, because the infinite is ever flowing. The block is somewhere within me, I am obstructing it. When I need a muse to inspire me, then I am restricting my own innate wisdom and creativity from flow, because I need it from an outside source rather than the source that I am in expression. So if we can understand how all of this stuff works in a practical way, then why do we not do the same thing as it relates to how the divine is expressing? Nothing stands still. Everything is being born, growing, dying. The very instant a thing reaches its height, it begins to decline. For this is the law of rhythm, and it is in constant operations. Everything is in motion. The current solar system in which we live, as you see on your screen, is ever in motion. Even though we don't feel it, like pause for a second, just wherever you're sitting or laying or whatever you're doing. And can you feel you spiraling through the heavens? No. But we know that we trust, because I've never been out there to see it happen, but I trust the scientists, the astronomers, like I trust them that they have studied this and that what they are relaying is accurate. So I trust them, but I don't trust the universe. The math ain't mathing. If I can trust this, then I can also trust the infinite expression of the all that is. But in order to do so, as Bruce Lee offers us once again, be like water. Be flexible. Move through the cracks that show up in your life. You don't have to be proud and aggressive and assertive in that way. Simply adjust. And then you shall find a way around or through it. If nothing within you stays rigid, then outward things will disclose themselves. If nothing within you, empty your mind. Do not cling to, do not be overly attached to forms and structures in ways that are non-life affirming. Be formless. Be open. Be shapeless like water. Be open at the top. Be open at the bottom to receive the divine inflow and outflow of all of life. Adjust, be flexible like water. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Everything ebbs and flows. There is a divine rhythm, just like there is a biomechanical, there is a mechanical, there is a, by the law of physics, all of these rhythms can be measured. Measured via sound, measured via repetition, measured in all frequency, all kinds of ways can be measured. So we are surrounded by evidence of the rhythms, the flowing, the harmony, the activity of, we're surrounded by it. We use it every day. But are we trusting and using it in ways that benefit our lives? Such as the skateboarder. This individual, she may or may not be aware of the laws of physics, whereby she could sit down and say, well, if I am skating at roughly 7 miles per hour and going in an upward angle at, say, 47 degrees, if I divide that by the mathematical of gravity as it, she may not know how to do all that. But what she knows is at this speed, which I can feel in my body, moving in such a way and hitting the ramp and then shifting my weight to adjust my balance gives me the ability to hit the air rotate and spin, come back down, and then hit the board, hit the ramp, and then continue to skate. She has mastered the rhythm, the flow, the harmony of. We do this all the time. We just don't do it in ways that acknowledge the working of the universe. Someone who juggles. There's rhythm in the juggle. Spoken word poetry. There's rhythm in the spoken word. Music. There's rhythm in the music. Language. Iambic pentameter. There's all kind of way. There's rhythm, the inflow and the outflow of the waves, and how it calms us simply being near them because it beckons us to be in resonance with it. We're surrounded by this. We are what it is. There is only one life. It's expressing in, through, and as all of this, which includes us. But are we trusting it? There is always an action and reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking, manifested in all of the airs and phenomena of the universe. Suns, worlds, people, animals, plants, minerals, forces, energy, mind, consciousness, matter, and yes, even spirit, all manifest according to this principle. The principle manifests in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life history of all things, and then finally in the mental states of all people. Now, if we really wanted to trust and apply this, then we would look at this stuff that Dr. Holmes is offering, that the three initiates are offering us from the Kabbalion, and we would say, how does this relate to the activity of my life? Where in my life do I see action and reaction? It's another thing. We're going to be talking about that next week. Where in my life do I see advance and retreat? Where in my life do I see the creation and the destruction of things in my life? Where do I see this principle manifesting and showing up? In my mind, in my emotions, in my relationships? Because relationships too, people come into our lives and people go out of our lives for various reasons. Some friends we once had are no longer friends. For me, 3 of the young men who were my sons of choice, one of them hasn't spoken to me and blocked me on social media. It's been, 5-6 years now, something like that. The other 2, they're doing their own thing to such a degree that we barely, if ever, communicate anymore. People come in, people go out for various reasons. And when we try to cling and attach, then we disrupt, because now we are entering into the place of suffering and attachment. When we try to block the reaction or control the reaction. If I throw a basketball up in the air, what sense does it make to be upset that it doesn't stay up or continue to go up? If I roll the ball away from me, why am I angry that it didn't roll back? Is that an expectation? There's nobody there to roll it back. So, according to physics, unless something acts upon it, it's not going to come back on its own. Which means if that's what I want, then I need to change what I am doing and get up and go get it. I need to be part of the manifestation process, the cause and effect. If I do not like the effect, I do not like the reaction, I do not like the experience, then I have to change something in order to change. I push the ball away. I no longer have the ball. I want the ball. I need to go get the ball. Do I trust that process? Oftentimes, when we see this image, we see it pretty much the way we are seeing it right now. Static, stationary. But a more accurate view of it is in motion. And interestingly enough, it's not even actually, the motion of this is more akin to this rather than the one you just saw. It's ever moving in and through and around itself. And when we get to a space of understanding, and I mean really understanding what we are as a divine expression of God, then we recognize, just like this, there is an inseparable ebb and flow and movement of all the energy that makes us who and what we are. Our emotions and our thoughts, our beliefs, they are not static things. Our relationships are not static things. When we try to make them static, they become stagnant, and stagnant water becomes toxic. Stagnant blood flow non-life affirming. Stagnant, eventually the finger will stagnant, because I am restricting the flow of life. The more we get into recognizing and understanding the ebb and the flow, the yin and the yang, the rise and the fall of all of this energy, the more we are capable of more effectively navigating and stewarding this thing called life. Because now we are operating in participation and quote unquote co-creation with creation. Since each of us represents an individualization of the nature of God, there is freedom of circulation of divine love, reason, peace, joy, and perfection throughout all that is this thing called human. But we must cooperate with this wholeness of life if we wish to not be made whole, but experience our wholeness. Therefore, we should maintain a calm and expectant attitude, endeavoring to realize that we are some part of infinite life. Infinite life expressing as us. So, to what degree are we cooperating with the yin, the yang? To what degree are we cooperating with, trusting, moving with, and as the flow and the truth of who and what we are? In the same way that if we were to look at the biomechanics of, say, running or walking, doesn't matter what it is, just like this graphic says, the body uses
all 11 major organ systems to work together in order to facilitate running. The respiratory system, muscular system, nervous system, all of these things have to cooperate with one another in order for movement to occur. The more rigorous the movement, the more the systems do whatever it is that they do. If I'm just sitting here and, I reach to scratch my head, yeah, my body may not need to necessarily regulate temperature. I'm not doing anything strenuous. But the moment I start doing something else, start running, now my body is like, he is heating up the system. It is time to regulate the temperature. Hit the sweat gland. Now he's sweating. So the sweat can cool the system. Like the system, I don't know why I did the whole. Okay. The body does what the body does to stay in harmony, to stay in a system of regulatory operation. It's always doing this. There was even a recent study done that said when we die, and this is not just humans, but any living organism, animal, whatever. We'll go with people. When someone dies, they noticed that there are still certain cells that remain operational for a longer period of time, to such a degree that they noticed that if they extract the cells from the body and give them a new space to thrive, they do so. And they do so in ways that they change and transform themselves. So, for example, and this is just a very rudimentary example, do not quote me on this, for I am not a medical doctor nor a scientist who has studied this. But for example, I die and they take some of these cells, and we'll say, just for the sake of conversation, skin cells. It's not what it is, but for the sake of conversation, take the skin cell because they notice it's still alive, and they put it in a petri dish, and they put that with, say, a part of a heart muscle from, the wall of the heart, and they put it in the same petri dish. The cells that they took from me and the heart cells will now connect, and my skin cells become heart cells and help the heart cells continue to remain healthy and functional. It's pretty amazing if you ask me. Now, what's the point? Ray, why are you even mentioning that? To remind us that this thing called life is ever demonstrating more and more and more and more ways that it is ever present, and ever living and ever breathing and moving in ways that we do not fully understand. But are we able to trust even though we don't understand? Am I able to trust my body's system that has to cooperate in order for me to live? My digestive system has to cooperate with my nervous system in order for me to live. My nervous system has to cooperate with my respiratory system, my nervous system, like all of the systems, musculature, like all of them have to work together as a cohesive machine in order for life as this body, this persona, to continue to operate and live. Are we trusting our relationships for the sake of a conversation? Do I trust that our relationship is cooperating the same way that the nervous system and the limbic system and the digestive systems, they work together? Is our relationship the same kind of cooperation? Or is something out of whack? Is our political system and we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, are the systems cooperating, or are they disjointed and dysfunctional? If we want the free flow of spirit to do what it does, then we must participate and cooperate with it. We have to trust principle and operate according to it. Spirit, which is the creative life principle, is forever flowing through us and as us. But people have been given the power or the right to obstruct, to impede, to stop this flow and this progress, this evolution. We can choose, due to free will, to remain ignorant. We know that we can tie a cord tightly around a finger or an arm and inhibit and block the circulation of blood, and that this congestion, this stagnation, this infection will show up and follow the stagnation, and then death. And in like manner, because it's all the same thing, in like manner, through our thinking processes, our ideas, and our convictions, we use the tourniquets of non-life affirming thoughts and beliefs to block, to inhibit, to obstruct the flow of the creative life through us and as us. And we tend to do this either out of ignorance, we don't know any better, stubbornness due to trauma or how we were indoctrinated via an anthropomorphic God or something. There are various reasons. It's our habitual state of, until we get out of that state and learn a new state. But we have to recognize that. If I don't even know that there is a non-life affirming tourniquet cutting off the creative life flow through and as me, then how do I know to even? So I have to be in a place of awareness to even recognize it. I have to be in a place of awareness to even recognize the infinite movement of all of creation. I have to be in a place of recognition that says, well, when I see my body, I understand the temple of the divine, because my body is a divine reflection of. It's made of God, so it references and demonstrates the same principles, which is why Dr. Holmes says every time we think of our body, we should think of it as our spiritual body, even though it's physical, even though I can touch it. Think of it as spiritual body. Think of every organ, action, function of our physical body as being pure and perfect spirit. And think of God as being in us and around us and through us and as us. Think of every breath that we inhale as the breath of life. And think of the things that we eat and drink, everything that we consume, as spiritual substance or sustenance that is forever nourishing the body, including the spiritual body. Think of spirit and our body as being one in perfect harmony, and affirm, declare perfect circulation, perfect assimilation, perfect elimination. We receive, we process, we release. We should declare that in pure spirit there is absolutely no stagnation or inaction or overaction or false action. Our body is a divine demonstration and expression of the kingdom of God, the temple of the Most High. Therefore, there is a spiritual pattern at the center of it that is expressing. Your body is not just flesh and blood. It is spirit in physical form. It seems as though everything in life is meant to circulate, and the moment we stop the circulation, that very act stagnates what would have moved freely. Stagnant water was once flowing that became sidetracked from its own flow, and that which was perfect now is stagnant and therefore is impure. It is tainted and toxic. It is just the same with our mind and our emotions. There is a pressure against us for self-expression. And when it is expressed, our life flows happily and easily. But when we resist this pressure, and pressure in this instance is a life-affirming pressure, right? Like it's the I need to draw something. I need to, I feel the urge to, it's that, right? But when we tend to hinder it, there is stagnation. The creative impulse must create something. It must express itself. If it does not, then we will be unhappy because we are unfulfilled. Quiz. Anybody know what this word is? Homework. Look up the word and look up what it means. Okay? Look up this word and look up what it means. Now, Dr. Angelou says, everything in the universe has a rhythm. Everything dances. Pythagoras said, there is geometry in the humming of the strings. There is music in the spacing of the spheres. He also said, a stone is frozen music. And the highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature, not simply entertainment. Breathe. Good old Dr. Michael Jackson said, hee. Actually, it's not what he said, but anyhow, to live is to be musical, starting with the blood dancing in your veins. Everything living has a rhythm. And it's not just in terms of what we think as animals living, because stones are frozen music. They are living energy as well. If we could peer into them and see the movement of molecules, we would see rhythm. The quantum field, we would see rhythm even in a rock, a stone, a blade of grass. He goes on to say, do you feel your music? Do you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, sorry. I had a moment there, flashback. Nature. Nature. I'm sorry. I don't want to laugh too much because they might come and tell me I hit my max. Nature always wears the colors of the spirit. Nature always wears, which means I am wearing the colors of the spirit. So when people say things like, I don't see color, referencing, different shades of people, and it's always black and brown people that they're saying it to. Like, I don't see color, Ray. You're not a black person to me or a brown person to me. You're just a person. Nature always wears the colors of the spirit. When you deny that you are seeing the colors of spirit as spirit is expressing in, through, and as me, then you are denying spirit. Just saying. Lao Tzu said, "Be still like a mountain and flow like a great river. The same stream of life that runs through my veins day and night runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It's all the same thing. Everywhere you go, you shall find dramatic splendor and awe because your majestic soul is part of the vivid whole. And nothing about you is ignoble. And yet, many of us are living precisely as if we are ignoble. But why? Why do we not trust? Why do we choose ignoble instead of noble? Why do we not embody and adopt our sacred nobility? Consciousness continues on and on and on. This is a general view, continuity of consciousness, not physical. Every millisecond of what we think, can do, and say is this intricate process that occurs. It's a natural law. No one runs it. No one's punishing. No one's rewarding. It's a natural law. It happens. It's called karma. Meaning every millisecond of what we think and do and say programs our consciousness. Every millisecond of what we think and do and say sows seeds in our consciousness, which naturally will ripen further down the track in that consciousness as the experience of that consciousness. That's not a complicated concept. Once again, it is not punishment. It is not reward. It's not a anthropomorphic creator. It's not random. It's natural law. From the Buddha. So, check this out. I didn't say this quote, but people think I did. But I'm going to give it to you because it still applies to our lesson today. Thank you, Siddhartha. If you are quiet enough, remember Lao Tzu, be still like a mountain. If you are quiet enough, you will hear the flow. You will feel the flow of the universe. You will feel its rhythm. Upon feeling it, go with it. Go with the flow, because when we do, that is when we realize that happiness is in the midst of that. Circulation is about being in the flow, being not only in the flow, but being the flow itself. So when we think of flow, let's think of flexible living, being able to move and adjust freely and effortlessly, living with openness, an open heart, an open mind, and Wu Wei, simply this and nothing more. Simply this and nothing more. Non-attachment. When eating, eat. When conversing, converse. When speaking a different language via sounds, speak a different language via sounds. When signing, sign. When laughing, laugh. Be present in the fullness of the experience. This and nothing more. Through doing nothing, through my stillness, I get more done. Our elders taught that the relationship between plants and humans must be one of balance. People can take too much and exceed the capacity of the plants to share again. That's the voice of hard experience that resonates in the teachings of never take more than half. And yet, they also teach that we can take too little. If we allow traditions to die, relationships to fade, the land will suffer. And the land is suffering now. If you're not familiar with this book and this is of interest to you, I would suggest getting it and reading it. As Robin says, in some native languages, the term for plants translates as those who take care of us. Reciprocity. Do we also take care of plants? Do we tend to nature? Even a wounded world is still feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us and gives us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. As we reconnect with this core tenet of science of mind and spirit, we're invited and encouraged to remember that the universe, as the body of God, is ever in motion. This means that both the consciousness and the concrete form of the divine are moving and flowing harmoniously. This includes us. So this week we are invited to do so with greater awareness and applicable practice. Where are we individually or collectively resisting or obstructing this harmony, circulation, and flow? And what can we do to shift that? Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first. If it resonates with you, I invite you to repeat it with me the second time. From my open heart, I give freely. And to my open heart, I receive freely. because I am a divine expression of the loving kindness and givingness of life. Together. From my open heart, I give freely. And to my open heart, I receive freely. Because I am a divine expression of the loving kindness and givingness of life. And so it is. This week's Everything is Practice moment, and for the Thursday night study group or your own personal journal question opportunities, how do I demonstrate my awareness of circulation and flow? Where in my life am I not accepting or receiving the abundance of the universe? And what is the form that is being denied? For example, I am not accepting or receiving the abundance of the universe as it shows up as money. I am not receiving or accepting as it shows up as friendship or romantic relationship or physical or mental health. I'm not accepting it. I'm not receiving it for some reason. Make a list of 25 things, minimum, that I have access to right now that are demonstrations of abundance without limit. Number 4. Venerable Robina said, meaning every millisecond of what we think and do and say programs our consciousness. Every millisecond of what we think and do and say sows seeds in our consciousness. How would I explain why this is the case? If I believe it. I may not believe it. But if I believe it, well, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. How would I explain why this is the case? Why does what we think, what we do, and what we say program our consciousness? Sow seeds into our consciousness. Lastly, in what ways could I increase in my daily life what it means for me to consciously circulate and flow? Breathe. Excuse me. Your active practice for this week is have a conversation about how certain societal norms run counter to the circulation and flow of the universe, while still demonstrating that the law is operating perfectly. So, quick example from, now I can't remember what slide. Okay, the slide that was talking about sometimes we take too much from nature. In what ways do societal norms take and take and take more than half? In what ways do societal norms say we're not taking enough? Not enough love. And yet, even in that, it is still a divine demonstration that the law is operating perfectly. Right? Someone fires a gun, and that gun, there's a bullet, and that bullet strikes somebody, and that person makes their transition as a result of. The law is still operating perfectly, which is why that happened. You follow where I'm going? So even though societal norms are running the law, what makes water stagnant? It's still an operation of how the universe works. If you build a dam or you block off the flow, well, according to the laws of what this does, there is a cause and an effect. I tie that tourniquet, I stop the flow, I stop my circulation, there is now an effect from that cause, and that effect is still operating perfectly according to the law. Oh, Lord, that just made me sweat. As we enter into that space of prayer, we simply breathe. We simply acknowledge the flow of the breath. And we simply recognize that even this breath is prayer. This breath as a divine demonstration of the give and the flow, the ask and the accept, the yin and the yang, the law in motion. And so we breathe and feel the gratitude and the joy and the happiness as demonstrated by what this breath offers us. And so simply from this place of breathing and being aware, knowing that it is already a demonstration of answered prayer, I receive it as such, with full expectancy and gratitude. And so it is. And so it is. Did you know that you are worthy and loved and awesome and appreciated? Did you know that? I hope you did. So this week, make it a week full of fun, full of flow, full of joy, full of love, full of whatever it is that you desire to experience. And cooperate with the universe so that you will receive it and experience it. And with that, we will either see you sometime during the week or right back here next Sunday. Love and appreciate you. See you soon.